whom a law clerk attached. So for on record for the practical purpose, it is 1 year. It is 1 year. After that, your tenure is over.
Correct.
But there are many law clerks who have been working for 2.5 years, 3 years, 2 years. It depends at the discretion of the judge. Now, the primary difference between a Supreme Court clerkship and the High Court is the Supreme Court pays you more than a High Court. That's a difference.
Okay.
And working at Supreme Court is entirely a different experience, because you get to know a lot of senior advocates who work at the Supreme Court. You also get in touch with them, and you learn from them. You learn from the best minds of the country, right? Apart from that, you attend the court proceedings. Supreme Court is the only court which can actually mold the law. You don't have to state the facts all the time. You can also state the law before the Supreme Court judge, and he can mold the law. And you meet the best minds of the country. So the only difference between law clerkship at the High Court and Supreme Court is the pay as well as the exposure you get in the Supreme Court.
Correct.
I don't know a lot about the High Court clerkship, but the High Courts pay you less, and it's also consideration, because once you are settled in Delhi, once, let's say I am from Lucknow, I went to Delhi, I had to pay a lot to get an accommodation. There were a lot of other things which accommodation, fooding, everything, for which I had to pay. Supreme Court pays you very decently. It pays you 65,000 rupees for a month, which is perhaps going to be increased in the coming months, since Justice Honorable Chief Justice is a very pro law clerk, and Justice Chanchud as well. So they are going to there have been speculations that they are going to increase the salary as well.
Wow.
On the contrary, the High Courts pay you very less. I have few friends who work at the Allahabad High Court as a law clerk with judges. High Court pays you 15,000 rupees for a month.
Okay.
In which it is difficult to sustain. I mean, a person who goes from Lucknow to Allahabad, let's say he's allocated Allahabad High Court.
Correct.
It is very difficult to sustain Allahabad in just 15,000 rupees. So, well, money is not always the consideration. It's also about the learning we get. Yes, so not always a consideration.
And sir, I have listened to many stories. जो बहुत लोग बताते थे कि बहुत सारे जो हिस्टोरिक जजमेंट्स होते हैं उसमें रिसर्चर्स बहुत सारे हेल्प करते हैं इन दैट, कि मतलब कैसे उनको भी डिसीजन लेता है, जज को भी कैसे डिसीजंस लेने हैं, ऑनरेबल जज को भी, तो उसमें बहुत सारे कंसिडरेशन होते हैं. उसमें रिसर्चर एज अ लॉ क्लर्क का भी बहुत ज्यादा रोल होता है. आई वांट टू नो दैट.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a very, very good question, because I've had my own experience of it. I would love to talk about this thing. So usually when you are assigned to a judge, he gives you research work. He asks you to conduct research work, because he has to incorporate that research work in his judgment.
Correct.
So let's say my fellow law clerks who were working with me, we were asked to conduct a research on Anganwadi workers. There was a case wherein the Gujarat High Court denied the Anganwadi workers the gratuity under the Payment of Gratuity Act.
Correct.
The Supreme Court overturned that decision.
Wow.
Supreme Court overturned that decision and held that the Payment of Gratuity Act will also be applicable to Anganwadi workers, because they are performing a very, very sacrosanct duty. Right? So we conducted research, and my judge particularly incorporated all the research we did in his judgment, which was of valuable assistance to him. And we were also thrilled that our research was incorporated in judgment that had a very wide social impact.
Correct, sir.
Right? Yeah, on people, Anganwadi workers throughout the country, because once the Supreme Court decided, it has to be followed by all the high courts and the lower courts.
Correct.
So we were really thrilled to have contributed to a judgment of Supreme Court. And yes, law clerks actually contribute to decision making process of a Supreme Court judge. So there were many instances. We helped the judge, and the law clerks do it in the same way.
And that's an incredible story, sir. कि मतलब हम लोग बहुत historic judgments के as a law clerk part रह सकते हैं. Means you help in that.
Yes, law clerks do, और judges काम देते हैं काफी, और आप contribute करते हैं. It feels really good, feels surreal to be a part of a judgment. Like there was one judgment wherein the Supreme Court reduced a conviction of a woman who was aged 72 years old. She was very old, very, very old. 72 years old. She was sentenced for 15 years by the High Court. Supreme Court reduced the sentence from 15 years to 12 years, the period already undergone by her. So we basically, the judges asked us for the citation